Hi, welcome back to Dial Twang. I'm Dave. So this is a little follow-up for that I Know You Writer kind of jam that we did with that. Sorry, right away we've got cat business again. With Stinky's in here today. If you're not going to spend, waste a lot of your time on this. If you hear cats, we're trying to work out a deal here, during the day sometimes when the mama's not home where everybody can be in a room that they're going to be okay in for, an hour or whatever. Work in progress. So if you hear something, you know, nobody's trapped or anything. It's just drama, cats. You know what I'm talking about if you have cats. Um, so here's where we're going with this today. More of a chord tone approach. A few days ago now, we went through this when we used a lot of major pentatonic for that D, right? And some Mixolydian stuff. Okay. Sometimes we put that extra chromatic note in there, gives it more of an even feel of 8 notes instead of 7. Reason to do that, that's kind of borrowed from like the jazzers, right? That's kind of like their bebop scale principle. That if you make it, you put in the chromatics in places that pass nicely, it helps your timing because you'll have more downbeats on chord tones. Okay, this lesson's not going to be, you know, all about that, but that's kind of the reasoning behind that. If you don't, don't worry because of that. Don't, oh God, I'm doing an uneven number. Don't get caught up in that. But sometimes when you just want to go da 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 da, you know, then that really works out, right? And all I'm doing there is taking that Mixolydian and putting the the flatted seventh and the passing note of the natural seventh in there. Don't want to confuse you, but this is Mixolydian. The flat seven in this 8 note version, we're just adding that chromatic between the flat seven and the root. Okay, so you see me do that sometimes, and maybe I don't mention it enough, so I don't want to throw people off when you're really looking at it, and I might just say, "Oh, it's just a major scale." But okay, well, why does he do 4 notes in a row, 4 frets in a row, right there? Right, that's by definition not accurate. But we're going to talk about that some more in some other lessons. So we got the major pentatonic stuff, the Mixolydian stuff. Now the next level for this, or the next thing to add, it's all good, it's all equally as useful, is some triad stuff. And that's how we're going to target our chord tones, right? We could talk about it in terms of just like, pathways like we've done in other videos, looking for the third, looking for the fifth. And if you're already on your way into that and you're comfortable with that, great. But I'm going to show you today, for many of you, a way to get into this right away. And the way to do it, this way, one way at least, is to just look for triads that are grouped on the same strings. Okay, so, you can start with the ones that you already know. If you know a bunch of them, then you're just going to plug right into this. If you use, a couple of bar chord forms for your chords, we'll start with this using this D as an example at first, the first one here. There's a D triad. Right away, you got 2. You got there. Technically the same thing, an octave higher, but as far as your guitar playing, that's 2 distinct, things that you have that you can go right to a D, right? You may not have thought about, may not always remind yourself to, hey, you can just move that right on up here, right? So a couple other ones would be breaking down your bar chords or isolating string groups of adjacent strings and separating those strings out from your complete bar chord. Here's what I mean. If we take this one, that's a D, right? And we isolate the top three. Okay. What's nice about what we're about to do is we're not going to have to analyze every single note of it. That's kind of your homework and depends on how far you want to go with it. But I'm going to show you a method that's going to let you take off right away using this. So now we got three. There's not really another place on this guitar and most where you could do another D version of that, right? You could, using different adjacent lower strings, right, and get those same notes an octave lower. More homework, but don't worry about all that all at once. We just need a couple of few positions for each chord, and we're on our way. So the third one that I would mention for D is, now this one's a little tricky because some of you may make your bar chords. I've never done that. So I'm not good at that. I don't have that separation where you get that. I wish I did sometimes because you really want that. You want that, right? If you look at this as a caged kind of A deal, but you move it up to, there, you're really going. I see a lot of players doing that. I've seen it my whole life. I just never did it. But what I have done is kind of truncated that to those three. But does that make sense that that's still part of this basic form? When I isolate those three, it's just a lot easier for me to do it like that. So now we got, I won't mention the octave every time, but you got that now. Here's what's cool about this, right off the bat, is if you move those around, it's gonna naturally have you ending and starting and emphasizing and placing chord tones on different parts throughout the measures, okay? So it's kind of a thing that sort of takes care of itself. And then you can start to really analyze or take note of, was that the third that I'm landing on that one? If I'm going, well, if that's one of the notes in that D, which one is it, Well, that's the fifth, that's the third. So that form goes right up in order, root, third, fifth. Right. I won't go through all these because it just gets confusing. I want you to see the utility. Then you can pick the pieces apart as far as you want. But that's the next step for you, right? Is to look at those and say, well, which note is that in the? Okay. So let's just. I know there's going to be chord changes in this example, but let's just kind of hang out and wait for the D's. And most of this progression ends up spending time on the D chord. So there's the D's, C, G, I'm skipping the other ones for now. So right away, get dancy with it, get loose. But here's a bonus right here, right? A freebie. All those D's, if you move them down two, from wherever they are, they're C's. Okay? B's and C's. We got them going. And instead of going around another time with the example, let's just talk about the G real quick, then put them all together. And I'll show you, you don't need to just, rip them all as fast as you can, once you get all three of them going. And another benefit of this is that they don't always have to line up. It's not just a one-to-one assignment. You can only play the D over the D in this. I'd like you to do that as, precisely as you can at first to really get ingrained in that sound of the triads for each um, um, chord. I forget the word I'm looking for, but assignment, one-to-one assignment for each chord. But you don't have to stop and start over and wait every time like I was doing in that example. But at first, just do what's comfortable for you. So, the G. It's going to be the same shape, just moved to another part of the neck. Same shapes that we've already talked about. So that's that one. See what we're doing? We're isolating the highest three strings for each one of these shapes. And then what did I leave out? If we got that one, and then, right, a little piece of the, caged C there, but it's also the D shape. Don't get back in the middle of the road. D, G. The cage thing's awesome, but you start labeling everything different stuff and referring to it in some way that's not literally what it is. That's too much, to juggle mentally at first, I think. So just, limit it to a few shapes, hunt them down for each one of these three chords, and then start moving them around. Now, creatively speaking, or what to do stylistically with it, leave that mostly up to you, but I'll give you some kind of guidance about that in just a second. But here's what I like to do with it. I like to do a lot of linear stuff where I'm just going right down the neck. Okay, I kind of blew it on that one, so let me do it again. What if I start here? Okay. Now, don't worry about, did he hit that note twice? And then that doesn't really matter for you. I'm just kind of just the feeling that I get from this progression, and I'm kind of thinking about, the Dead and that style a little bit, and I just know that it's going to have that bright, shiny. This is all the chords are major, This isn't the dark, creepy Jerry. This is the sunshiny one, right? Man, talk about covering the spectrum as a person and as a musician. It's just as a force of nature, right? You really had it going on. So, does that make sense? Pick a place and then look for stuff that's just close by. Look for your neighbors, right? If I'm up here, let me do that again. There's a D. Then I went to a C shape, or the same shape, but it's a C because I moved it down to, right? Kind of a D shape, but it's a C because it got moved 2 doors down, right? Then a portion of that form of a G chord. Okay, then I'm just kind of right there. If I wanted to just do a D right there, I'm there. So don't even worry about the track. If the tempo, you can do this, and this is a good exercise too for your ear training because you can hear the chord changes even though you're just playing single notes, right? That makes sense. Check it out. Just find, one of these regions. Here's another one just to get you going. Slowed down. I did a D there, moved it two doors down for a C. Took part of this, that type of form of a G, and just isolated these three strings. And then a D that's based on this shape. Everything I'm doing in this video is occurring on these three strings, right? In the demo at the beginning, I just did a broader kind of jam using these skills, but probably did some other stuff too. And then the final stage for you is, focus on that and really get into it and really, teach yourself and let it go where it leads. Using the program that I just showed you. And then when you're ready, get that track going a little bit and do some jamming on it, And I'll give you a little bit of an outro example of that. And let me know how it goes with this. And great being with you again. Until next time.